Life After Sports podcast with your host, no other, Kevin Johnson. And tonight the theme is introducing myself. Episode 18. I'm excited. So we're gonna get into it right away. We're gonna talk a little bit about myself. Since I'm always asking everyone questions about themselves, so I'll give you a little bit insight about who I am. All right, so let's start with me. Where was I born? Where was I raised? So I was born in Brooklyn, New York. My family is originally from Georgetown, Guyana in South America. I lived in New York for 10 years, and now I've been living in South Florida for over 25 years. Next question, when did I start playing sports? The first sport that I played was baseball, to be honest with you. I played baseball, Little League baseball. That was the first sport that I played, was Little League baseball, and I was on an all-star team. I met some tremendous people at that age, and I think I was probably around, I would say between 7 and 11, that I was playing Little League baseball. Next question, what impact did sports have on me as a young adolescent? Man, I learned so much about myself within the sports realm. You know, as a coach, we talk about teamwork. I learned so much about myself and what am I willing to sacrifice so that I can be able to have the grand prize at the end of the day. And so I call a little bit of that more of delayed gratification. A lot of times, our youth don't understand what delayed gratification is, and it's really sacrificing the instant gratification of everything that we can do right now to continue to work so that you can get better for a bigger or a grand prize later on. And so that's all about sacrifice. So for me as an adolescent, I learned about sacrifice. I've learned about being focused. And there's an acronym for it. It's called Follow One Course Until Successful. I used to use that when I was coaching at Broward College. And I used to tell our girls, we got to work on being focused. If your mindset and everything else is being pushed out at different places and you can't focus on what's truly important, then you can't really accomplish that goal. So follow one course until successful. So those are some things that I've learned as an adolescent through sports. I learned about failure, how to move on from failing. And I think that's so critical. I think we're in a time now where, and I'm around athletes. People don't know, or young adults don't, or young people don't know that it's okay to fail. The more times that you failed, the better it becomes, because now you know the mistakes that you've made so that you can move on to the next level. And I think sometimes we don't want delayed gratification. Everybody wants things instantly, so that when you have an opportunity to have a delayed gratification and you really have to work and then you failed at something, now I know 3 or 4 other ways that this is not going to work. And I think failures, it really shows you who you are. And through my life, I failed at certain things throughout my journey in coaching. I think I failed at not being maybe a great coach at certain institutions or a particular year, or not having a great season. And you learn and you get better, and you really self-assess yourself as a coach, as a person. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. The next question, how many sports did you play in high school? So I played 4 sports in high school. I played tennis, I played basketball, I played baseball, and I did track and field. So funny story I got to tell you. My freshman year in high school, I got cut for the basketball team and was upset. I played baseball. I did tennis. I was a 4-letter tennis player. I know that's something that probably people don't really know, that I do play tennis. I won't brag, but I can play. I'm pretty good. Track and field. I went out for track and field while I was at Stranahan High School in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I remember I was running the 100 meter, and his name was Coach McFadden at the time. Put me in the 100 meter, and I was in the 7th heat. I didn't know that I was in the 7th heat. I came in first place, and I was telling Coach, "You should have been put me in, Coach. I tell you, I can run with the best." Then he let me know at the end of it that, Kevin, that's the 7th heat. And so if you know track, you got 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. It was the worst, the craziest experience, because I got off the track I felt like I was, Usain Bolt. And I had a quick reality check real quick that was the seventh heat. That was the last heat of the 100 meter. So needless to say, I was really good at the high jump, triple jump, long jump. And then from that, I made the basketball team every other year outside of my freshman year. I played baseball as well because baseball was my first love. So if you've been following Life After Sports podcast, we normally do our interviews pre-career, in-career, post-career. So I gave you a little bit of information about my pre-career prior to being in the sports industry. Now we're going to talk a little bit about in-career. What was my first job within the sports industry? First job was working with the Miami Dolphins. And I was working in the department I was working in was entertainment department. So I was in charge of the halftime and pregame show for the Miami Dolphins. And so that was my first time working within the sports industry. I've learned so much. Dory Grogan was my supervisor at that time. I learned a lot from Twan Russell, who's still with the Miami Dolphins. And so great. I mean, just a wealth of knowledge working within that industry. Also, I used to work with the Miami Heat doing basketball camps with Tony Ferrantino. And I've done it for the whole time I was in college. That was the way that I was able to make money in college while I was a student at Broward College and Nova Southeastern University. Next question. For many who want to know, how did I get into college coaching and why women's basketball? So I got into college coaching. This was after I did my internship with the Miami Dolphins. I used to help the women's basketball team when I was playing at Nova Southeastern University, and also while I was at Broward College as well. I used to just volunteer and help while playing on the men's side. And I got Coach Rule, Marilyn Rule. She was the one who made a phone call for me to work as an intern or not even intern, to apply for the job at Broward College, which I was an alum. I graduated from Broward College. And so I went there. Coach Shaw Mike Shaw gave me my first opportunity to actually be an assistant coach for women's basketball. And it really changed the trajectory of my life in regards to understanding the game, understand the X and O's. He really gave me an opportunity to be hands-on with the program. And after that year, I think it was a year or the second year he left, he retired, and I took over as head coach and then was there for the next 5 years. So I've been at Broward. I was at Broward College for like 7 years as coaching women's basketball, and 5 years as a head coach, 2 years as an assistant. And so changed the program from where it was to where it went. Able to take our program to the NJCAA tournament. And we haven't been there. Wasn't there in the last 8 years prior to me taking the team there. And so I had a great time while at Broward College. So that was my first job. Then I got a job at Lynn University, Division II, and I was assistant there. And I learned so much from Coach Nikki Washington. Great experience under her leadership. My time there was short. Things didn't work out. We didn't win that season. And, I was the first person in the job, and I was the last person in the job, the first person to get fired. So when I talk about, failing into success or understanding that failure is part of who you are in your growth and your development, you have to go through those things. And it was uncomfortable. I mean, I dressed up for success, had my suit on, shirt and tie. At that same day, I was planning on meeting the president because I was doing something for my doctoral program at the time, and came into some bad news. And it was like, hey, we're going in a different direction. And a lot of people don't understand that in the sports industry, that happens a lot. Like, getting fired in the sports industry is prevalent. No matter how many times you win, no matter the lose, it just, at the end of the day, it can happen to you. And a lot of times as coaches, we don't prepare ourselves for it. We know that it can happen, but we really don't really see the end like that. And so that's at Lynn University. Then I was at ASA College. I was there for about 2 seasons. And changed the program. So if you know the coaching industry, there's different type of coaches. You have coaches who they come in and they can be able to take a program within the first 2 years, 3 years and change. Then you have coaches who have a great relationship with the athletic director, and they're there for 20 to 30 years. And they've built they just really truly built the program. And so there's different type of coaches who come in, navigate, change programs, then they leave and they hop onto another program. I think I was more of that type of coach who was able to come in, adapt, change the program, make some changes, and then I'm on to the next thing. So with that being said, I was at ASA for 2 years while being the head coach there. I was also a professor teaching at that college. Also had a great time being an assistant AD for one season while I was there as well. Man, I appreciate that, Doobie. I appreciate that. I mean, people don't understand the work and that goes into college coaching. College coaching is not easy. It is a 24-hour job. And then also for coaches who are married and have a significant other, for them to understand the task that's at hand, that they're really trying to really give everything they can for these student athletes so that they can be able to reach their goals. And not only just, their goals may be to play in the NBA, play WNBA, but really to graduate and to learn life's lessons. And I think for me, that was what I was trying to do while I was coaching in those 10 years of coaching, really help the young ladies learn life lessons. And a lot of them are doing great things right now. I have some that are tax attorneys, some of them that are just owners of different businesses. Some of them start their own wellness type of facility. So it's a lot, or I've impacted a lot of young women, and I'm happy about that. If that's something that I can be able to say I'm proud that I was able to, for whatever short period of time, if they were there with me for a year, 2 or 3, that I was able to impact their lives. So going to the next thing, list other experiences that I had the privilege of working in the college athletics. So other jobs that I've done at different universities or colleges. I was an enrollment service officer at Broward College. Also, I was an academic advisor and sports information director. So I've done all those 3 at one institution while coaching, and had a great time doing that within that 7-year tenure. Then at ASA, I was the assistant athletic director in sports administration for that year. And so those are the different jobs. I worked in financial aid as well. So I have a very vast education in regards to those experiences in regards to academia, which has helped me throughout my career in regards to understanding students' background, where they're coming from, how they're going to be able to pay for school, and just understanding, what are the services that they need, that as a being a part of an institution, how can we be able to service our students to the utmost and to help them? I feel like college is really a stepping stone for a lot of these young athletes and just students in general. They come, they're not sure what they would like to do, and they're able to learn, make some mistakes, learn a little bit of who they are. And as our job as coaches and administrators, as presidents, as deans, provosts, our job is to help them grow and help them, guide them to that next step in life. And so when you go to graduation and you see them graduate, you're like, you know what, I'm proud of you. You did it. And so that was, for me, that's the most humbling experience, being able to be an asset to those students, for them graduating and going on to the next step. So the next question, why is education so important to me? As many of you know, I went to school. I went to Broward College, Nova Southeastern University, St. Thomas University. So majority of my education has been in South Florida. And currently I'm a doctoral candidate. I am pretty much almost done. And I'm excited about that. But education is so much important to me because in order to make change, you got to understand theory and history. And so the Doctorate of Business Administration degree that I'm currently working on, it's practical experience and also theory. And a lot of professors, I don't think they take the theory and practical experiences, put them together so that they can be able to add value to their students. A lot of times it's just theory. Here's the book. But students want to know, how can I take the theory that's in the book and apply it to the practical experiences that's happening in today's real life? mesh it together and be able to either become an entrepreneur, own their own business, be able to identify if there's a problem in a certain field, and be able to go ahead and add value right away. And so I think it's important. Why education is important to me, because you need to have the education, but you also need to have the practical experience. So if you're able to merge those two together, I think it makes you a unicorn, because those things merge together. You have the wealth of knowledge, but you have the experience behind it. And so it puts you become a guru. You become an expert in your field. And so that's the reason why education is important to me, because the power of information helps you make informed decisions. Having my own management company, our job is not to tell the client what to do, but it's to inform the client what may be the best avenue if he decides to go A or he decides to go B. And I think if we have more people in the world that are trying to use their power of information to help others, you're informing. You're helping somebody learn something that they have never knew before. And I think that's great. I mean, if you stop learning, it's like you kind of dying slowly. So think about that. If you're always constantly trying to not just be on the edge of information, learning, I think that you add so much value to yourself, to your life, and then you can be able to take that information and be able to instill it in everyone else. So think about that, the power of information. Now, talking about my company, Johnson Management Group, what inspired me to start my own management company? This happened in 2008. I started the company. I was actually still coaching. I was probably in my second year of college coaching. And I, prior to working with the Miami Dolphins, I had a lot of great friends, Paul Soliai, Olivier Vernon, Koa Misi. Shout out to all those guys, and they're doing great things. Some are still playing, some are retired, and they're doing great things. And congratulations again, Paul Soliai, with getting your bachelor's degree. And so when you think about the relationships that you've came in contact, people you came in contact years ago, and they have seen the work that you've done, and I've helped a couple of those guys with community involvement, helping them expand their brand, leveraging their connections and leveraging their contacts and what they would like to do when they retire. I think those things are so important, because through those relationships, that was the birth of Johnson Management Group became in existence. So with our management group, we do marketing, management, brand development, and philanthropy. And so a lot of great things with that company that we've done. I've got a chance to work with a lot of great people. I've done some work with Gina Ford, who does all the marketing for Usain Bolt. I've done some stuff in the NBA with some NBA players, Keon Dooling and some other guys, and just having the connections to do things with other people in different sports and to be impactful and help. I think that was the goal, and that is the goal of Johnson Management Group. Now, talking about post-career. All right, so we talked about pre-career, talked about in-career. Now we're going post-career, Kevin Johnson. How did the idea of this podcast came about, and why the title Life After Sports? So talking about the podcast. So the podcast Life After Sports, a lot of athletes that I either have done work for collectively, or just guys that I've just known from the locker room experiences through engagement with other players. They're always talking about, on the conversation always, what can I do after I'm done playing professional sports? And a lot of guys don't know what is that navigation, like where do I go? Who do I talk to? What's the next thing? And so I found my niche, helping athletes be able to help their brand, understand what that they are the CEO of their brand, and these are the things that they bring to the table, and how to look not to look at themselves as, hey, I'm just an employee, but to look at myself as I'm a brand and I'm a CEO of my brand. And so once you start to change the mindset of who you are and not base it on your situation, I think you have, the sky's the limit. And so once I was doing that with athletes, they started to understand that, hey, he's looking at me like I'm an entity. I'm an owner of who I am, and I need to step up to the plate. And I think dealing with athletes, they come into, they deal with a lot of self-identity, like understanding who they are once they're not playing professional sports anymore. And so I wanted to give a platform where athletes can be able to come and they feel safe to talk about what their transition process looked like. So we're interviewing current and former athletes and giving them a platform to be very candid, to talk about their experiences, their failures, their successes, so that it can be beneficial and help the next generation. And so I'm so happy that I went through and started this podcast and became the host of it. And I'm excited to see where it's going to go. And stay tuned, because you don't know where the next episodes are coming. We're going Women in Sports. That's the next segment. And so I want people to, if there's questions that you have for me, that you would like to know about what's going on our podcast, write down. I pinned it right here. It's www.laspodcast.com. If you have questions, go subscribe. If you have questions about our podcast, if you would like to be on our podcast, send us information, send us an email. Our information is all on our website. So the title, Life After Sports, I talked about the transition, and that's the reason why we started with that title, Life After Sports. Next question. While in academia, what propelled me to become a college professor? And why? So I've been teaching at 3 different institutions. I taught at Johnson & Wales University, which is in North Miami Beach. I've also taught at Broward College and ASA College. And in my time of as being an adjunct at these 3 different institutions, I've learned so much about the interactions with students, not only student athletes, but students in general. And students want information, but they want information from people who are in the field, who are actually doing the practical skills or doing the practical training, and they have the theory. So they want a combination of both. And I think it's so important for me to know that, and to want the information, but also be able to share my information. And this podcast gives me a platform to share my experiences, to share my successes, to share my failures. And I think through telling your story, you can be able to help the next generation. And so for me, a critical moment that I had when I was at ASA College, one of the students was like, and ASA is a junior college here in Miami and in New York, and they have football. They have different sport programs. I was coaching women's basketball at the time as well, but I was teaching as well. And one of the students, African American student, he said, Professor Johnson, you're the first African American professor that I've had since I've been to school. I went to Division I school, and now I'm here, and you relate to me. Like, you can really relate and understand the things that I've been through, being African American, and knowing you're not. He told me, he's like, you're not giving me passes. You want to educate me. You're making me want to learn, because you're meeting me where I'm at. And so I think it's so important, especially for our understanding our young people, is to help them, meet them where they're at. Sometimes you have to really understand where they're at so that you can be effective. And that's called communication, effective communication. And so I've taken the time to really understand where they are and what the things that they're dealing with. Because when I was in college, the things that I was dealing with in college, they're dealing with things that's times 10 is different. Instagram wasn't out when I was in college. Facebook just started when I was in college. So when you start thinking about those things, social media wasn't as big as what it is today. And so students are dealing with so much depression and peer pressure and trying to understand who they are, identity crisis. And this is the same thing that I'm dealing with and talking about with athletes, but these are young professionals, young students. And so for me, it was just a challenge for me. Like, if I'm going to teach and I'm going to make an impact in our youth, I need to be relatable. I need to understand where they're coming from and how can I be able to connect the dots. You're not going to be able to save everybody, because I know everybody thinks you could save her. You can't save everybody, but those that want the information, those who want a chance, those who want to excel and succeed, and those who don't really know how to do that, this is where they had the opportunity to kind of a safe haven to talk about their experiences. And so in my classes, I've always done things where I gave them the opportunity to speak on how they felt, even about why they're here in college. Some just decide that I don't have a choice. This is what I have to do. Some really wanted to be there. But I think at the end of the day, when class is over, they found what their purpose is, and they're trying to figure that out as well. So that's what propelled me to be a college professor. I wanted to inspire others, and that's the reason why I knew that this is a passion of mine, being able to impact and give back to our students, because somebody did it to me. I went to Broward College, but I also went to PWI, which is Nova Southeastern University. And, I look at my experiences as a student. While I was at the college, I didn't have a lot of professors. Even at Broward College, I didn't have a lot of professors that looked like me. And I think that's what motivated me to say, I want to be able to give back, and I want to impart the knowledge that I have to students. And hopefully they understand, they take it, and they're able to use the knowledge and experiences that I have in the sports and business world. And so that's what propelled me to be a college professor as well as and teach, because I knew that someone like myself is missing from that faculty. What organization that I'm currently a part of? All right, so I'm a part of the National Society of the Black Sports Professionals, the Miami chapter. I'm so happy, and I'll post on my IG Live. If you have a chance, it's National Society of Black Sports Professionals. Please go follow the group. They have a lot of valuable information, and for students who are interested who are in the sports management field, who's also in business and are looking to collab, this is a great organization to be a part of. All right. Again, it's the National Society of the Black Sports Professionals. OK, I'll be posting their information on my on my IG stories as well. OK, next question. What area am I looking to serve through my podcast? I think I said it earlier. My podcast, I feel like it's an area where athletes, professional athletes, people could be authentic of who they are. Like I said, we're interviewing different people from the different sports industry, and they're telling us their stories. They're giving you insight of who they are, what they did when they were playing sports, what was their mindset, and what they thought outside of that. And so if you take a look back at all the other podcasts that we've done so far, today's episode 18, there's different stories. I mean, we've interviewed from male to female to all different spectrums and different sports. We had an NBA player, we had a WNBA player, we had an NFL, we had Major League Baseball. And we're looking to bring in more. So please stay tuned. And with that being said, what we're looking to do with the podcast is to serve and really to talk about post-career development coaching, because it's really important that we try to help athletes, professional athletes, after they're done with their career, to help them. And you don't have to wait till they're finished. But I think post-career development coaching is something that's needed to be in part in their growth from what they're doing now, so that it can help them, so that when they retire, they're not pretty much like a deer in headlights, just looking like, I don't know what's next. What's this next stage look like? It looks funny. And so I think having those comfortable or uncomfortable conversations while they're currently playing, even though their mind is still currently on being on the field, but also thinking about how can they be able to take care of their family and take care of themselves, self-care and self-love. How can they do that after they're finished playing? So I think that's very important. Last question, but not least, talking about what advice would you give anyone looking to make a career move or in need of help with the transition process? So first of all, I want to open up the door. You're more than welcome to either email, give us an email, go on to our website, laspodcast.com. Please sign up, subscribe. You can also reach us out on IG. Feel free to. We don't have no problem doing a consultation. and talking about that. That's talking about your career development. What's your post-career development looking like? And so I think the most important thing in regards to understanding, in regards to advice, is to self-assess. I think a lot of times we don't take the time to really self-assess where we are in life and what that next step may be. And things happen, family, you like pandemic. These are things that you just can't control. That's out of our control. But I think if we take time as people to self-assess, to really look at what's the problem, what are we not doing, how can we maneuver to that next job, how do we deal with getting fired, and then looking for a job, how do we deal with failure and not being blackballed, or if we were blackballed, how do you deal with that? How you come back from that? I think it has a lot to do. It weighs a lot on your mental. Especially when you're financially trying to, take care of yourself, pay bills, take care of your family, and then you're trying to find a passion or something that you really, truly love doing. I think it sometimes could be a lot. And so I think, being able to have an open door to talk to someone that may be an expert in that field could be able to alleviate at least some stress, because stress is the number one killer, believe it or not. So my advice would be to find someone that you can be able to talk to. If not, you're more than welcome to email me or visit our website, laspodcast.com. But self-assess, take some time to self-assess. And I actually took some time, within the last 2-3 weeks to self-assess. Like really I went to Cancun, and I actually, I know a lot of you probably saw my pictures and everything like that. But I also took some time to actually just sit down and take in the things that I've done so far up till this time in regards to my career, and really wrote down some goals and say, hey, these are some things that I really would like to start working on. And I'm not going to give you everything, but I did like a little notepad of some things and some projects that I want to kind of work on, and work on my mental, work on my spiritual, work on my growth, and educate myself on some other topics. So, take some time for yourself. Self-assess is really important. And I read a lot of self-development books on the mind and just learning how to really take time for myself. And so I think that's truly important. Time for that book, Doobie. You're right. It's time for that book. It's coming. I got a couple of projects I'm working on. I'm not going to say too much. I have wrote a book this summer. I don't know if many of you have taken the time to go and support. It's called The Stereotypes of a Black Male. If you haven't purchased your book, please go on my LinkedIn bio. You can purchase it, or you can message me in my DM. And if you would like to buy a copy, or you would like for me to make sure that I write a nice autograph of a note in here for you, I don't have a problem doing that. So feel free. You're more than welcome to. I would love, if you haven't had a copy, please get a copy, support, and please let me know what you think about the book. Again, Stereotypes of a Black Male. And it's I co-authored. This is my first book that I co-authored. I'll have another book that I'm publishing this year, which is my dissertation and some other stuff. But, take some time for yourself. These projects could never be done if you never take time to self-assess and to figure out if that's the next step that you would like. Even with the podcast, for me, it was something that I thought about, but I just jumped into it. And I think it was pandemic that helped me to jump into it. Things would happen, things slowed down. How am I going to interview these guys in person with this whole coronavirus going on and stuff like that? So I went ahead and did the IG Instagram live. And so I think I took the time and I used the resources that was already there. And I think that I think that's important. Just take some time for yourself and figure out what's that next step. What makes you happy and what doesn't. And that's pretty much it. I just wanted to kind of get on here tonight and just say hello. Hope everyone is doing well and still trying to maneuver through these times. It's not going to last for long, but we're making it. And I hope everyone is doing well. If you have any questions or anything you want to say, I've been reading the comments. Dr. Thelma, how you doing? All right. I see you, Phil Mern. All right. I see you. Doobie, I appreciate you with the comment, and Shayna. And so I appreciate everybody jumping in. And all right, Alex, the financial guru, is in the building. But I appreciate everyone who have supported my journey, supported the podcast, supported the book. Stay tuned. We have a lot more things that's coming your way, and I just appreciate everyone. I know if you send me messages for my birthday, I didn't get back to you. I was actually soaking in reaching another milestone, and how grateful I am and how blessed I am to have great people in my circle. And I'm really excited. Give me 1 second. So I have a question. Let me check my question box. All right. So somebody asked me, Dr. Johnson, what has been your motivation and thought process of creating this podcast? All right. So again, I'm going to look at it one more time. Dr. Johnson, what has been your motivation and thought process of creating this podcast? So to be honest with you, the reason that what was my motivation? My motivation was to be able to give information to people who are really seeking about the transition process. Like, how does it work? And I wanted to help. I think when you're motivated or passionate about something, I was passionate about helping people. How can I be able to help people, inspire others to do better, to if they made a mistake in their past, how can they surpass that, and how can they go ahead and improve, and how can they be able to pass that information down to the next generation so that they don't make the same mistake. And so that was my passion. My passion was to inspire and help. And so through this podcast, I get the opportunity to get on live to inspire other athletes, other student athletes that are in college, professional athletes that are watching, high school, middle school students. And even if you're not an athlete, I mean, when you look at our motto is, when one career ends, a whole new set of opportunities begins. So it really doesn't have to be just athletes, but it just talks about career. And so I think a lot of times we get upset when things don't go our way sometimes, and sometimes it's meant for it to happen that way. And so I think that was what really pushed me to do this podcast. I've been fired from jobs before, and every time I've been fired from a job, something else supersedes while I was even at that job. So meaning I was there for that moment, but that moment has passed. So now it's time for me to go ahead to the next step and the next stage. And so, the development of that podcast, the podcast Life After Sports, is because I wanted to inspire, and I wanted to really talk about some real issues about the transition process, and hopefully that it can help others in a positive way. So hopefully I answered your question, Coach Doobie, in regards to that. Anybody else have any questions? Again, if you're not following our social media, our handles, please follow our Instagram. It's called LAS_podcast. And also, if you have not subscribed to our website, so that we can be able to send you some things, send you some information about what's going on in regards to the athletes that we're interviewing, please check out laspodcast.com. Again, www.laspodcast.com. And if you haven't watched none of our episodes, please go and watch our episodes. We're on, it's Life After Sports Podcast. It's on, we have a YouTube channel, and then we also have we're on Apple Podcasts as well. So if you have an Apple phone, you can be able to check it out. And it's Life After Sports, hosted by no other, Kevin Johnson. So please go and support. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. The goal is reach one. If we can be able to reach one person and help through this podcast, I think we're doing our job, and I'm doing my job as leaving a legacy of inspiring the next generation, the next group of people, and the next group of leaders. So hopefully you're doing your part in your legacy to help others. Life is more about giving than receiving, and I think I meet a lot of people every day through my job. And it's great when you could be able to give. And that give could be time, give could be money, give could be just energy, give could be a positive reinforcement, a word, saying a prayer for somebody. It could be a little bit of anything. But if you're able to inspire somebody by helping them and giving them a positive word, I mean, that doesn't cost you anything. So let's take time to help people. Nothing's wrong with that. Give people a lending hand. All right. Well, with that being said, if there's no questions, I appreciate everybody taking the time to be on live with me tonight. I know it's kind of weird because I'm by myself. I'm normally with interviewing somebody else, but I did an interview of myself tonight. So introducing myself to the world, Life After Sports with Kevin Johnson, episode 18. Y'all have a great night. Take care.